Hello and welcome. I'm Joanna Junak and this is GFN News on gfn.tv. At the beginning of this year, Mexico introduced further regulations banning the marketing, sale and importation of electronic vaping devices. Those who break the rules can face prison and high fines. However, the legislation does not provide for penalties related to possession for personal use. This raises important questions. What is permitted and what is prohibited under the new law? And what impact do these changes have on public health and consumers? Juan José Cirión Lee, a law professor and human rights expert specializing in harm reduction, working on safer nicotine policies in Latin America, is with us today to shed more light on the situation in Mexico. Hello, Juan José. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start with how the newly introduced regulations are affecting consumers.
You know, the truth is that the Mexican market has been always on a gray area. So it's been banned since, I don't know, maybe 15 years. The problem is that right now, the ban, instead of being administrative prohibition, is a criminal law right now. So when you were selling vapes in the past, you could get a fine, you could get raided in your store, but right now you can go to jail from 1 to 8 years. So that's what is different right now. Still, the market is being in a very, I don't know how to say, gray area, because here in Mexico we have some kind of trial where you go to a judge claiming that your human rights have been violated, and if you get that resolution in your favor, then some law is not going to be applied to you. So that's what has been happening here in Mexico. A lot of stores are selling with these kind of trials. But right now, all those trials have been canceled. And right now we're going to start again, seeing if with trials, we can get some extent of the law to sell. The problem is that the traditional entrepreneurs who were selling vapes right now are scared to sell these devices because of the criminal prohibition. So it's different to get a fine than getting to jail. So right now, what we think is that the cartels are going to take over the business. So that is what is going to be different. Still, you can find vapes in everywhere, on a black market. And I think that for the consumer, this is not going to be a big change. But still, we have to see what is going to happen. The thing is that we don't know how this law is going to be enforced. So you've been seeing, for example, in India or Argentina or Brazil, that there are bans, but still the law is not enforced. So you can buy vapes wherever you want. We are not sure if this is going to happen to Mexico. What we think is that is going to happen to Mexico, because we are not a country where the rule of law is in effect all the time. So we will see.
Thinking about the enforcement and availability issues you mentioned, what health or safety risk could this create for people who vape in Mexico?
The problem is that if you don't have any ruling, rules about vaping, what you can buy has not any kind of quality control. But that's what has been happening here in Mexico. And still, what we know is that nobody has died or had a big illness of vaping in Mexico. That's what our authorities has been told us. And we think that is because the vapes made by big companies are very affordable. So it's not a good business to try to recycle or to fill used vapes when you can find very cheap vapes, new vapes made in China. So uh, we have to see, because the thing with Ivali, what happened in US, come from a black market, and we will need to see what is going to happen in Mexico. Still, we think that we hope that not a very big health issue is going to happen.
So, is there any reliable information to help people understand the potential risks of vaping, especially with black market products?
What you're saying is very complicated in Mexico, because the ban is supported by government propaganda. They always say that it harms more than regular cigarettes, that you can, all the things that you've heard around the world, that you get water in your lungs, fungus in your lungs. So it's very difficult for the people to be sure what are the real risks of using vaping products. We cannot rely on the government. We have to go, to make searches on internet, to try to check reliable sources to be sure what is happening with vaping. In Mexico, that's very difficult. If you talk to anyone who doesn't vape, they are really sure that they are more dangerous than regular cigarettes, that they cause a lot of diseases. But the good thing is that we have almost 3 million people vaping in Mexico. And in general, the consumers are very well informed. The problem is that all that people who could be using reduced risk products, the people who are smoking right now, they are not aware of the harm reduction related to these kind of products. So if they knew, maybe there would be a lot more vaping users in Mexico.